they say we want our gold back, and now the U.S. government and the Federal Reserve are deciding whether to recognize that or not. To me, seems like would be a scary precedent for any other nation that has their gold at the Fed, because how do you know when the U.S. decides they're going to put sanctions on you? Well, hello there, my friends. Chris Marcus here with you for Arcadia Economics. Tonight, a quick video about what, I don't know, I would personally consider a default by the Federal Reserve in the gold market. And we will touch on an interesting development that's happened there. Although real quick, before we get into that, tonight's video is brought to you by Bluestone Resources. They have some exciting news out recently. You see Bluestone increases the NPV of Cerro Blanco by over 275% to 907 million, and peak gold production to over 300,000 ounces per year. And as you can see here, Bluestone pleased to announce the findings of a preliminary economic assessment that highlights an optimized project which doubles the gold resource ounces and production profile, effectively triples the NPV of the project to 907 million. I do believe we will have Jack Lundeen, who runs Bluestone, coming up on the show in the next couple of weeks to talk more about that. So congratulations on the news, Bluestone, and thanks for bringing us this update tonight, because as you can see here, U.S. blocked Myanmar junta attempt to empty $1 billion from the New York Fed account, according to sources. Now, just to be clear, I won't by any means attempt to resolve the politics of Myanmar and whether the military is on the good side or the government's on the good side or the bad side or any of those things. But just from the precedent that, you know, this is the second, well, probably not even the second country. I mean, you had Venezuela over the last couple of years, and now Myanmar, where they say we want our gold back, and now the U.S. government and the Federal Reserve are deciding whether to recognize that or not. To me, seems like would be a scary precedent for any other nation that has their gold at the Fed, because how do you know when the U.S. decides they're going to put sanctions on you? So as you see here, attempted to move about $1 billion of gold held at the Fed, prompting U.S. officials to put a freeze on the funds. Well, U.S. officials have a habit of putting sanctions or freezes on anyone that is not on their favorite list. So first blocked by Fed safeguards, then U.S. officials stalled on approving the transfer until an executive order by Joe Biden gave them legal authority to block it indefinitely. I don't know what to say about that one. Joe Biden, I believe, still hasn't given a State of the Union address or even a public press conference. His name pops up a lot in the Texas Energy Falls flag that I live through here. So administration not off to a flying start. On what grounds Joe Biden is blocking it, I do not know. I'm guessing I probably be likely not to agree with that, but spokesman for the Fed declined to comment. U.S. declines to comment. Nobody ever feels like talking about it. And again, the military does decline to comment. So, you know, when you have situations like that involving a gold market where the U.S. refuses to do an audit for 50 years and nobody wants to comment, then, you know, people are left to just make up their own conclusions as best as possible. Biden said on February 10th, the U.S. was taking steps to prevent the generals from improperly having access to the $1 billion, which, hey, maybe the generals are the bad guys and they're trying to steal it. Maybe the Fed is the bad guy and they're trying to steal it, or given the track record of the U.S. government, just a very slippery slope when, again, they're deciding internationally who is recognized as the government or not. If the U.S. government had any track record of being honest, fair, or just, maybe it'd be a little easier to accept. But again, if you're another country and you have your gold stored at the Fed and the U.S. doesn't like you, I don't know, I wouldn't want to leave it there. And anyway, executive order was designed to provide the New York Fed with the legal authority to hold their reserves indefinitely. That's a scary precedent. And an attempt to empty the account was made on Feb 4th, but blocked automatically by processes that have been put in place at the Fed. That's interesting because that's the day Jeff Curry was explaining how ETFs are the shorts and they hammer futures contracts. That's one day after February 3rd when the prospectus changes were made in the middle of the night. So now we can add on to that a request for gold was denied. And why was that? Because transactions involving Myanmar require extra scrutiny because, of course, they were placed on the concern for money laundering. Give me a break. The U.S. is placing other countries on a list for money laundering. Does anybody else remember Oliver North and the Boland Amendment that Congress knew what they were going to do? They created an amendment specifically to forbid that. U.S. government ignored that, sent Oliver North around the globe to interact with terrorists, run rebels in Nicaragua, and they are deciding who is the money launderers and saying, we're not going to give back your gold because they think somebody else is the money launderer. Inappropriate. Bank's legal department will be in communication to clarify. And anyway, I don't know what counterparties are supposed to think when country is asking for their gold. Fed says no, sanctions are placed, and they're going to comment and be in communication when it is convenient to do so. So that's why I'm a fan of having gold or silver, places where you're not counting on the government or one of their banking entities. Again, not legal financial advice, but we'll see how this goes. And yeah, that date, February 4th, sure is interesting. And my guess is that as the days, months, and years go by, we'll look back at that first week of February with quite stunning fascination. And in either case, though, I'll keep you posted. So hit that subscribe button and the notification bell, and I will see you again soon.